Ray, was about 15 years ago.
Okay.
And I got an email from some kids who snuck out to Spidergate Cemetery in Leicester, Massachusetts at night.
Jeff, I grew up right near Leicester.
Okay.
I've known about Spider Gates pretty much my whole life.
So this email said this kid and his buddy were out here when some men in robes walked in holding candles and chanting something.
Ooh.
So these boys are scared out of their minds, at least according to the email, and they thought they were going to be pretty much get sacrificed in some cult ritual or something like that. The email said they hid in the woods until the men left.
All right, what did you do about this email?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Not a thing. I was sure they made up the whole story.
There's so many legends surrounding this place, Jeff. I've heard that there's 8 gates to hell here. The roads are said to appear and disappear.
Okay.
There's a hanging tree where a bunch of people committed suicide. There's this level area of ground they call the altar where rituals took place.
Okay.
I've also heard about the cult in robes, and of course, it's haunted. It's crazy how many stories there are here at Spider Gates.
Okay, I've looked deeply into all these mysteries now.
Yeah.
And I'm here to tell you that all of those stories you heard, they're true. I'm Jeff Belanger, and welcome to episode 94 of the New England Legends podcast. If you give us about 10 minutes, we'll give you something strange to talk about today.
And I'm Ray Auger. Thanks for joining us on our mission to chronicle every legend in New England 1 week and 1 story at a time. We'd also like to thank our Patreon patrons who are supporting this episode.
Thank you, patrons.
If you visit patreon.com/New England Legends for as little as $3 per month, you get early access to new episodes, plus bonus episodes that no one else gets to hear. And we now have a new feature just for our patrons. If you sign up, you'll get a unique web feed that you can paste into your podcast player that will automatically deliver both the regular episodes and the bonus episodes right to your phone, so you don't have to listen through the web browser if you don't want to.
It's a really cool new feature for sure. And for the rest of you legendary listeners, you can subscribe to our regular episodes for free on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. As I said, it's totally free, and it just takes a second on your smartphone or computer.
And hey, listen, please tell a friend about our show. Share it on social media or yell about it at the bus stop. Anything you can do.
Right.
We surely appreciate it.
Okay, so Ray, you grew up near here. What did you hear as a kid?
Well, I think every kid knew about Spider Gates.
Yeah?
I mean, I heard it was haunted, but I do recall hearing about some strange cult activity and the suicides, too.
So to get to Spider Gates, we'll park our car right here on the side of the road on Manville Street. And we'll have to walk a short way along this trail in the woods just behind the gate along the road here.
All right, it's pretty hard to miss Spider Gate Cemetery.
Very true. We've obviously arrived.
All right, let's look around. There's a rock wall surrounding this square cemetery that's pretty small. It's maybe half an acre in size.
Yeah, about that.
What you can't miss are these circular Art Deco black wrought iron gates in the front. They do kind of look like black spiders if a spider had 14 legs,
Right.
Of course. There's 2 main gates that can swing open to allow in a vehicle, and there's a third gate between 2 other stone pillars. That's for people to walk through who are visiting the cemetery.
Well, let's head in.
All right, there's a large tree right in front with a big branch that sticks out, almost like an arm. I guess that would be the hanging tree everyone's talking about, Jeff?
Yeah, that looks like it. And look right over there.
Okay, I see a perfectly flat rectangular area with 4 small stone pillars that stick up maybe, I don't know, a foot off the ground.
Yeah.
This must be where those rituals took place.
I think you're right. You think this stuff is just stories, but then you see it with your own eyes. I mean, there's a lot to unpack here, so let's go back to the beginning. The year is 1740, and a group of Quakers in town, led by Ralph Earl and John Potter, plus their families, established this cemetery.
Quakers are a sect of Christianity that was born in England around the 1650s. This guy named George Fox was becoming disenchanted with the Church of England. He believed people didn't necessarily need the help of ministers and clergy to find Jesus. So he started a group, a society of friends, where all were welcome to come and sit for a meeting.
Okay.
During these meetings, there could be long periods of silence, but if the spirit moved anyone in the room, he or she could rise and speak.
The term Quaker was originally kind of a derogatory term for this group because they would tremble and shake at the word of God.
We should know Quakers are different than Shakers,
Right,
by the
okay.
way,
Yep.
who have mostly died out.
Yeah. Made great furniture, too.
That's right.
So Quakers bring their brand of Christianity over from England, and some of them settle here in the Leicester area. They need a place to meet, so they build their meeting house right over there on the same land as their burial ground.
This land and meeting house become the epicenter of Quaker life in Leicester. The group is never huge in size, and they welcome those who want to practice the faith with them. And when those members or friends pass away, they're buried outside.
It's now 1850, and the Leicester Quakers have merged with the nearby Worcester Quakers, and they moved to their meeting house. So this meeting house in the boneyard is no longer needed. The building is removed, but 4 granite pillars stand along a rectangle to mark where the house once stood.
Though the meeting house is gone, this cemetery is still used to bury the Quaker dead. The area around the cemetery is also growing as some houses and businesses spring up.
It's now 1895, and Dr. Pliny Earle just passed away.
I'm sure a descendant of Ralph Earle, who helped establish this cemetery more than a century and a half ago.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when Pliny Earle dies, he leaves some money to fix up the cemetery. So they commission these fancy ornate gates meant to look like rays of the sun emanating from the middle. And the gates were installed. And now the Friends Cemetery has a new look.
I mean, it does look nice, but
Yeah.
no matter what angle I look at these gates,
Yeah?
I don't see sun rays. It looks more like a spider.
You're not the only one to see that, Ray. And the nickname Spider Gates doesn't take long to take hold. Meanwhile, more roads and houses pop up next to Spider Gates. One of the roads is called Earl Street.
Ah, there's those Earls again.
This whole area is turning into a little community. A community that gives rise to business owners, college presidents, and all kinds of other people.
Next, we jump to 1944. Just over the hill from the cemetery in Worcester, an airport has just been established. Worcester is growing. Air travel is the way of the future, and Worcester won't be left behind.
No, they won't.
Though the airport is nowhere near the size of Boston's Logan Airport, it's still a good-sized regional airfield. As the city grows, so does the airport.
So it's now the 1950s, and Worcester Airport needs to expand its runway because airlines are changing. Propeller planes are giving way to jets. Jets fly faster and farther, but they also require longer runways. So Worcester extends its runway all the way out to Mulberry Street. So the end of the runway is about 1,700 feet from Spider Gates Cemetery.
Well, is that really a problem? I mean, I don't imagine the residents of Spider Gates are going to complain much about that.
No, I guess they won't, but the few nearby houses and businesses, they will. The city of Worcester orders this whole area cleared because not only of the noise, but it's a safety factor as well. So the 1950s sees the removal of any building near the end of the runway. The streets are then closed and gates are placed at the intersections to keep people from driving along these roads.
But Spider Gate Cemetery is allowed to remain intact and in use.
Okay.
The Friends are free to continue burying their dead out here.
As we've seen repeatedly, once you remove humans from a location, nature takes back what's rightfully hers pretty quick. In just a few years, weeds turn to vines, trees sprout, bad weather washes away roads that used to get repaired, and pretty soon it looks more like woods and forest rather than streets that used to hold houses.
All right, it's now the 1970s.
Yeah,
Jeff, I know you grew up in a small town, right?
I did, yep.
So did I, right near Leicester, as a matter of fact, East Brookfield.
Yep.
Do you remember your high school days?
Oh, how could I forget? My mullet, the acid wash jeans, it was awesome.
The 1970s weren't that different from when we went to high school, Jeff. In a small town on a Friday or Saturday night, if there wasn't a house party, you made one.
Yeah, we did.
You fill your trunk with some cases of beer, drive off to an abandoned street, and boom, instant party.
Oh, I get it. So this area around the cemetery is perfect for that.
Right.
No houses or neighbors who are going to call the cops on you. It's secluded. Ray, I smell a beer bust at Spider Gates.
Exactly. So high school and college kids are around here drinking beer and telling stories of ghosts and gates to hell, and anything else that might scare the girls into cuddling a little closer.
Oh, of course.
And that brings us back to today.
So a cemetery becomes secluded in the woods, add in some alcohol, and stories and experiences grow into legends.
I get that part, but there's still a lot I don't get about the many legends surrounding this place, man.
All right, well, let's take them one by one.
All right. What about the 8 gates to hell?
There are stories of gates to hell all over the world, but here at Spider Gates, there's a few visible clues. So after Worcester Airport expanded, the houses were removed, the streets are closed. These gates that are placed at the various intersections make sure no one can drive around here, as we said before. Count the gates, plus the gates to the cemetery, and suddenly it makes sense.
All right. What about the roads that appear and disappear?
That one we can attribute to the change of seasons. So the roads are all dirt now. In the summer, weeds and plants grow as tall as a person. So even on once used streets, it can look like forest. But come back in January when it's cold and all the weeds are dead. All the former streets become more obvious and visible again.
Okay, I get that. What about the hanging tree?
So the tree right next to the main gate of the cemetery, it's tall, and that branch that sticks out like an arm over the cemetery does look like one could pretty much throw a rope over it.
Yeah, but only if you had an extension ladder. That branch is as high as the top of my roof on my house.
You're right. The thing is, there were suicides in Leicester. In the 1970s, there were a few teenagers who took their own lives, but they didn't do it here. They did it across town. And what happens over time is that locals remember the suicide. They know about this creepy, secluded place, and then suddenly the locations just kind of merge.
All right, the elevated area of ground where the rituals took place. I can figure that one out.
Right.
It's where the Quaker meeting house once stood. It's
Sure.
pretty obvious today. And if you didn't know that there was a building once there, I'm pretty sure the perfect rectangle looks strange.
Yeah.
But what about that email you received about the robed figures in here at night chanting?
Yeah, this one took some digging, but dear Lord, you're not going to believe this.
Try me.
It's true. It's completely true.
You're kidding.
No, I spoke to this local police officer who's also a town historian. We were talking about all kinds of things related to spider gates, and so I asked him about the robed figures almost as like an aside. So he laughed and he said, "Oh yeah, I've personally chased them out of here multiple times."
All right, my mind is blown right now. Who are they?
That's exactly what I asked the officer. So he tells me they're a group from Worcester Polytechnic Institute. They have this society there they call the Skull.
Like Yale Skull and Bones.
Like that, but, without any U.S. presidents in its membership.
All right, so why are they coming here?
They're coming here to visit the grave of Rear Admiral Ralph Earl, who's buried here at Spider Gates.
The Earls again.
The Earls are everywhere. Earl is an alumnus of the Skull, and he's a former WPI president. So the group comes here as part of some ritual. And they come here at night, which, by the way, is illegal. It's illegal to visit any Massachusetts cemetery after dark.
All right, so imagine you're a 13-year-old kid out here with your buddy at night, and you see guys in robes holding candles marching into the cemetery.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that that'd be the end for me.
Yeah, you'd just be like, okay, they're going to kill us. This is how it ends for
Right.
us.
Which means that email you got all those years ago is true.
It was, and if those kids are listening and they're 15 years older now, I would humbly like to apologize.
So I guess that just leaves us with the reports of ghosts.
Yeah, that one. Well, I figure, what self-respecting centuries-old New England cemetery doesn't have a ghost or two attached to it?
It's funny, now I feel like I have a whole new perspective on Spider Gates.
Yeah.
I wish 10-year-old Ray could listen to this podcast.
Though we haven't perfected time travel yet, if anyone wants to hear our entire archive of more than 90 episodes, you can go to our website at ournewenglandlegends.com. There you can also see video content, check out the New England Legends television series on Amazon Prime, and see upcoming dates for my ongoing story tour. You can also see a link to our super secret Facebook group.
If you enjoy our show each week, do us a favor, tell a friend or two. Why not? Post about us on your social media, or just stop strangers on the street. Let them know.
Yeah.
We certainly appreciate it.
And our theme music is, of course, by John Judd. Thanks, John.
Thanks, John. Until next time, remember, the bizarre is closer than you think.